we had The Revival. The Revival were scheduled to wrestle Gallows and Anderson in a loser wishes they could leave town match. And the winners probably do as well. But it never got started. The Usos walked out to reveal that they had rubbed their version of Ucey Hot, which they were calling Ucey Hot, all over their gear, the Revival that is, before they put it on. And on cue, Dash and Dawson start shaking and flailing around like they were on fire. By this point, I wanted to set this entire show on fire. They begged the Usos for water, which they poured down their crotch. That only made things worse, and they ran away. Let me remind you that people are actually paid to write this shit. Actual American dollars, coins, dollar bills, they're paid to write shit like this. And I'm going to hear from people, Solomonster, it's not the fault of the writers, cut them a break, it's Vince McMahon. At what point, let me ask you this, at what point then do they stand up and fight for all of these supposedly great ideas that people seem to think that these writers have? I thought some of them were supposed to filter through. Not all of them, but some of them. At what point do we get to see some of these wonderful ideas that they hire these people to come up with? We could sure use some of them right now. I don't see any. Do you? Where are these great ideas that we're supposed to see? Am I looking in the wrong place here? How much longer are we supposed to wait? When they chase away another 500,000 people? Tell me, I would love to know. Everybody makes excuses. It's not this person's fault, it's not that person's fault. Everybody gives these people a pass. And that's why we end up with shit like this. Stop giving them a pass. Even Carl Anderson's wife couldn't help but tweet about how stupid this segment was. And what a waste of talent it was. Her words, not mine. Fightful.com, they broke the story that lead writer for Monday Night Raw, Ryan Callahan, or one of the lead writers anyway, was fired by WWE the week before. Had nothing to do with the ratings, had nothing to do with bad TV and the fact that the show sucks. Instead, it was because he was butting heads with another writer, another creative force behind the scenes, Dave Kapoor. He used to play Ranjan Singh years ago, managing the Great Khali. He's been with the company for a long time. He butted heads with Callahan, and so they fired Callahan. This on the heels of Road Dogg stepping down as the co-head writer of SmackDown, the heels of R.D. Evans quitting before he could be fired. You can't fire me, I quit, right? At the Hall of Fame for Bret Hart mentioning Vince McMahon's name in his speech. On the heels of Dave Schilling, who used to write about wrestling for Bleacher Report and 411 Mania and a whole bunch of other websites, big wrestling fan. He announced that he was joining the WWE creative team. This was back in February. He was all excited. I could not be more thrilled to have this opportunity in the industry that I love. That is until April, when news leaked that Schilling was already gone from the creative team. Cue the Grandpa Simpson gif. Why is all of this happening, huh? Why now? What is going on over there? But it's not just the writers. It's not just a writing issue. The format of the show is so stale, the way they produce their announcers, a lot of the stuff is even beyond the reach of the writers. This show needs a complete overhaul, now more so than at any point in the 26-year history of this show. The show that Raw replaced in 1993 was Primetime Wrestling. Primetime Wrestling went through its own format change, actually multiple format changes. It used to be a studio show. It was hosted by Gorilla Monsoon and Bobby Heenan. Not right from the beginning. I think that from the beginning it was Monsoon and Jesse Ventura, but it was a studio show. It was Gorilla Monsoon and Bobby Heenan, a lot of their banter back and forth, with a lot of clips from matches from around the country. Mixed in. That was the format. And skits. And that worked for a long time. Until they changed it to a studio show with a live audience and guests and other skits. Then it had one last format change to a panel-type format with Vince McMahon at the head of the table with Monsoon and Heenan and a bunch of revolving hosts every single week. I assume the ratings were not doing that great, so they were trying different things. You don't undergo 3 format changes in a 3 or 4 year time span if your show is doing big numbers. You would stick with what works, and clearly what they were doing they felt wasn't working, and so they tried new things. They had the sense and the courage to try new things, try new formats for the show until Monday Night Raw debut, the ultimate format change. I wish they had that same courage today. I'm talking in general, not just the show format. Show format, the set, the look and feel of the arena, not pitching to commercial every 5 seconds the way they do every single week. Every segment ends with someone making a mean face. We got to zoom in on the mean face. You hear people from off camera, smile, smile. Everything. It's always the same format, the same pattern every single segment, every single week. Something has to change. We cut right to, after a segment like that, ooh, mean face, rrr, mean face. Okay, so then we cut right to the announcers in the foreground, cracking jokes. We're talking about, oh, all right, switching gears now. Let's suck our own dick and talk about the great charity work that we do. Meanwhile, you see the guys in the background, like, walking off. Like an actor who just played their part, exiting stage left. Promos. We had Seth Rollins and Kofi Kingston deliver backstage promos by themselves, staring right into the camera. That's a small change. I think they should do more of that. But when it all comes right down to it, these are all cosmetic changes. Necessary ones, I think. But all cosmetic all the same. It all boils down to whether or not you are putting out matches and storylines that the audience finds compelling or entertaining. Look, I like good comedy as much as anybody. I'm not a total stick in the mud. I don't just want straight wrestling matches for 3 hours. Just like I don't think all elite wrestling should be focusing on just great matches. It should never be about just great matches. Ucey Hot in front of a dead crowd is not compelling television. 30-minute talking segments is not compelling television. Vince McMahon on camera is no longer compelling television. He's the greatest on-screen character maybe in the history of the show. Greatest heel they've ever had. But not anymore. He is a shell of what he once was. And he stands there and calls himself a genius, like he did on Monday when he came up with the whole wild card concept. He's like, oh, it's brilliant. I'm a genius. And I believe that he really thinks that. What a brilliant idea. I'm a genius. And he waited for applause that never really came. Like a politician at a town hall who makes this great point and then has to stand there and say, please clap. It's embarrassing. And I will say the same thing I said last week when I talked about the Luke Harper stuff. For the sake of his company and the sake of his product, Vince McMahon needs to step aside from the creative end and trust somebody else enough to bring a fresh pair of eyes to this tired television show. Vince McMahon doesn't get certain people. How many times have we heard that? He doesn't get Luke Harper. Who knows how many other people he doesn't get? You know what? I don't get Vince McMahon anymore. We don't get you, Vince. And if we are the authority, like you and your son-in-law said that we are, when do we get to take you off of television?